For this session, I wrote 74 words. For this session, I wrote 124 words, and my week's total word count is 1,665 words. I did a 16-week comparison of my word count to see what it would look like zoomed out from the months. Hey Sybil, you like your new toy or your little snack? Oh. It's tasty, huh? Some funfetti cake and some milk for lunch. It has been a very, very active day. I have yet to get to my writing, but I plan on doing so after I film this video. Looking at my trend graph from the past 16 weeks, I don't really know what to make of it other than that, consistency really does take its own kind of shape. It's not that perfect upward line or slope. I thought I would see more of a similar pattern to match the month's patterns, but that's not really the case either. But I am officially past the 18K mark in my word count, and it feels very exciting, and it feels much more real than even when I had my first 30,000 words in my original manuscript. To give a bit of a recap, my initial attempt at this current manuscript, my current primary manuscript, I started out in a totally different direction, in a totally different genre, writing 1,000 words every single day. And I had gotten to about 37,500 to then make about a 35,000 word count cut. And it's with the remaining 2,500 words that I then continued to build off of, and now I'm at 18K with that. It feels like these 18K words have been a long time in the making, and it also feels rather accelerated. The best part of my current process is that it does not strain me, and it doesn't feel like I have to try overly hard to make this happen. It truly does feel like a natural way of writing, and I really enjoy that. There's a lot of sound in the background because my husband is on a mission to figure out our new sous vide acquisition. We found it just hanging around in the electronic section at the Goodwill. So he's just tinkering around with that. And we've got a pot roast in the oven, which I'm very excited to eat after I film this video. I had some boxed baked cake that I made yesterday morning for a little snack to tide me over. So I am feeling a little bit like a hunger goblin right now. Anyways, let us carry on with this video. Today I want to start my extended note series on my first published book, It's Okay to Burn Bridges. I'm still finding my way in the dark with how to do these series. It's going to be a lot of iterating on my part, but I thought I would read the chapters since it's super short and then just unpack it from there. So, a bit of background. It's Okay to Burn Bridges, 52 Lessons on Courage, Life, and Liberty is my first published book. I wrote this about 2.5 years ago, and then I kind of put it to the wayside because I did not know how I wanted to really talk about my works. I was very new to writing, and I still felt like I had a lot of the writing process I needed to figure out. So I took that time to do so and to work on myself because there were a lot of personal things that I was going through at the time, a lot of personal life changes. I had left my career in healthcare and business, and then I actually returned to healthcare for a little bit because I felt like I lost my sense of purpose while in business. And so I thought maybe going back into healthcare will help me connect with that. And I was doing that during COVID times, and it was chaotic, but also I had a serious back injury that left me pretty much bedridden for a good long time. So I was recovering from a lot of those things, and then also just a lot of, life shifts in the aftermath of COVID. After I left the healthcare world, I decided that I was done with medicine and I wanted to pursue the holistic pathways for my healing. And so with my severe back injury, I healed naturally, but it was also tied to my spiritual journey at the time. And this is not a prescription for anybody else. This is just me sharing my story and my choices that I made and how that led into this book. But those were some difficult and dark times. I am grateful for them in the aftermath because they gave me a lot of insight on life, and I am the person I am today through them. My background being primarily in the sciences and the world of business, very heavy in the practical disciplines. I've never formally learned writing, and so writing this book was completely new for me. I'd always dreamed of being a writer, and I had no idea in what capacity or sphere I wanted to write. So this was very much experimental for me, as it was a very essential part of my development. Okay, I had a pot roast break, and now I'm back. I intentionally structured this book to be on the concise end of the spectrum. I had read a lot of self-help and nonfiction books, and while I enjoy them, I did find that a lot of them are incredibly repetitive. These self-help books are usually like this thick, and a third of it is like the useful information, and then the other 2/3 is just a reiteration of the first third of the book. So I just wrote to the point, and I also wanted to leave a lot of room for the reader to be able to think things through. In other words, I did not want to be at all prescriptive about what I wrote. I really wanted these lessons to be more suggestions to facilitate one's own thinking about life and philosophizing, and I absolutely did not want to over-explain anything in this book. So, without further ado, let's get into lesson number 1. It's okay to burn bridges. Some goodbyes should be forever, like with a toxic partner who takes advantage of your love and treats you as worthless, like with a toxic family member who takes advantage of your blood relationship and expects you to take whatever demand, like with a toxic boss who takes advantage of your skills and work ethic and uses you without fair pay, like with a toxic friend who takes advantage of your support and doesn't reciprocate. Burning bridges is a courageous act of decisiveness. It need not be a dramatic or chaotic act. It simply means making a resolute decision to never return to certain relationships by positioning your life circumstances and environments to facilitate certitude. While modern advice recommends people against burning bridges, just in case you may need that line of relationship later in the future, A, you are more self-sufficient than this advice would allow you to believe, and you don't need to string along relationships indefinitely as insurance for a good life. And B, this advice promotes opportunistic relationships, which effectively promotes shallow and transactional relationships rather than aligned, inspiring, and genuine relationships. Contrary to common understanding, the paradox is you can burn bridges with toxic and misaligned people in your life and still be a peaceful and pleasant person, because surprisingly, burning bridges will serve to increase your peace as you remove yourself from the environment of toxic people. Have courage and confidence to exit and fully let go of relationships without regret. Sometimes this might require you to make big changes and move towns, cities, states, countries, jobs, or homes, but fear not. Change is for your powerful evolution. The world is large and there's plenty of room for you to get out there and thrive without the ties of toxic people constraining you or weighing you down. You don't need your partner's fake love. You don't need your relatives' approval. You don't need your boss's reference. You don't need your friend's company. You will be fine, and truly you will be greater without them. Cutting ties with toxic and misaligned people will free up space in your life to connect with people who are truly good for you and who value you. By far, one of my greatest personal life lessons has been to realize that toxic, poisonous people can ruin your life. No matter how tough or independent you may think yourself to be, what I have found is that toxic people are insidious, if not outright disastrous. I want to distinguish between truly toxic people and people you may have misunderstandings with, or people that you can actually learn from, because there is a difference. There are some people you may not necessarily like who can still teach you things about life. But there are some people who are really just terrible people, selfish and absolutely disrespectful of your boundaries or your existence as a human being. And discerning that is an important skill. So burning bridges isn't about canceling people just left and right. It is about defining for yourself who you really want to be in your life and who really reflects the values that you cherish and want to cultivate. It is also about assessing with clarity the roles that people play in your life and the roles that you allow people to play in your life. Ultimately, we all have 24 hours in one day, 8 to 10 of which we sleep through. So with that limited amount of time, we also need to think of our energies as a limited resource per day. And if you're expending too much emotional energy on people who are toxic for you, you have nothing left for yourself. Emotional work is heavy, heavy, heavy work, and we really need to treat our emotional capacity as currency. Your heart and your soul are precious, and to give it to somebody who's not going to see you, appreciate you, or value you, whether it be a family member, friend, or a love interest, it will only bleed you out and leave you to dry. Now, if you are someone who's wired like a martyr, that may not be the case, but most of us aren't martyrs. We're human beings. And we, having limited supply and energy per day, we do need to renew that. And that renewal comes from genuine rest, genuine support, and having access and space to be creative and free and loved. Ultimately, you are in control of your own physical presence in someone's life, and you can remove that from someone who's not going to appreciate you or value you in the way that you deserve. The ultimate power move that one can make is to remove access to your person and your attention. And what this conveys is that you know your worth and that you are confident in your capabilities to create a life that reflects that. To this day, I am grateful for the bridges I have burned, the bad relationships that I have left behind. I absolutely would not be living the life I am living now, not having done that. I will admit that it is a very difficult journey learning to burn bridges, because there is a lot of self-reflecting and clarifying in that process. It is also emotionally heavy work because it requires you to confront really deep things about yourself at a level of radical honesty. And burning bridges may require you to take drastic measures of action. I want to be very, very clear and realistic about that, because burning bridges may require you to move state or move to a whole other place. And relocating, essentially starting over, can be very, very hard up front. However, if you stick it out, if you trust the process, if you believe in your worth throughout, it will be all so very worth it. On a final note, I want to emphasize again that this is not a prescription. None of this is to prescribe what one should do. These are just ideas, radical ideas for consideration. I'm going to end my discussion here. I'm going to get to my writing, and when I have that done, I will give you an update. For this session, I wrote 122 words, and that is a wrap for this vlog.